So today I'm back with a video about these two lovely guys, the Tron belt tensioners. So over here we have the one used in the 5.5 Orion and Gemini, recently just released. This one also will work on previous models, but this topic I will cover a little bit later. This one is the bigger one used for the Tron 7.0. I will cover how to set it up and also where to add Loctite and why these guys in general come already pre-assembled from the factory. So why these belt tensioners, or like the tail drive or the rotor head and some other stuff comes pre-assembled out of the factory? First of it makes the QC, the quality control, very easy, and it brings it up to a very high level, because doing a pre-assembling of these parts makes sure anything fits correctly. There is no tolerance issue, anything is smooth, and another big point is also there is no missing screws, washers, bearings or whatever. So doing a pre-assemble of this part takes us actually quite a bit of more work, because the factory employees have to make sure, have to select the correct parts and make sure anything is correctly pre-assembled, but you don't have any bad surprises that something is missing. Another topic also which Tron is concerned about is sustainability, because we try to reduce the amount of plastic bags to a minimum. Now you imagine if this guy doesn't come pre-assembled, how many of those bags you will throw to the bin. And at the end, plastic is a big topic in terms of sustainability and protecting your environment. So this is like an easy addition, an add-on from our side to do something about the environment protection topic and to reduce plastic waste. Let's move on to the topic about where to adding Loctite on the Tron 700 belt tensioner. There's a slightly difference in between the 5.5 tensioner and 700 tensioner, and it is actually this lock nut here. So on the 700 belt tensioner, it has no lock nut. So you have to make sure, and again, it's pre-assembled. There is no need to take anything complete apart. So you only take out this bolt here, make sure it stays together, and you add a nice amount of Loctite over here, something like a 243 blue one. Feel also free to add green Loctite here, because those kind of screws you normally do not remove very often or replace. So 243 blue or either the green one. Add a nice amount of Loctite on that bolt here, and then just screw it back in, make sure it is properly tight and it still moves freely. The wheel spin, the pulley spin freely, and it moves freely. The other screw over here, same story, take it out, add Loctite and put it back, and make sure after tightening it up properly, it still spins free. Then this set screw here on that side, you have to take it out, and then you're also adding a slightly amount of Loctite to this bolt again, and then just put it back into the thread and make sure the spring here is flushed with the arm. So don't do it like this, just make it flush, more or less, and you let it dry. Anyway, later on you're going to readjust the set screw, but as it has Loctite, it is still nicely holding actually in place, and that Loctite, when it's dry off, it gives resistance, so the screw will stay in place. It's basically almost identical on this guy here, on the smaller one for the 550, but here only that bolt you take out and do the same. You add Loctite, you put it back, tied it up, and you do the same thing on the set screw here you add Loctite, you put it back, and you make sure it's flushed. That's all you have to do. Again, there is no need to take anything apart and counting washers and counting bearings and whatever. In addition, I also want to talk about this lock nut here. So take your Allen key here and take the opposite and make sure this lock nut is pretty tight. So tie them up. There is no need actually here on this bolt to put Loctite, but if you feel more comfortable, you can also add Loctite here to the thread. But basically a lock nut, when you use a lock nut, it is not required to use Loctite. So let's move on with the alignment or the adjustment of the belt tensioner. As you see here, anything is assembled and on its place. Keep the two bolts from the clamps loose, and as you probably remember, the spring here, it's still flushed with the tensioner arm. Keep it flush. Then what I do, I holding my boom with one hand and I using my thumb to adding tension on the belt. You can see the boom is freely moving, so you pull it back and give it a nice amount of tension here. Keep it tight, no worry. Like this, you use your other hand and you're tightening up the two bolts for the boom clamp. Also make sure you have add Loctite here previously on the two bolts. So now it's preloaded, and down, as you can see here, there is a small access hole in the mainframe, which brings you directly with an Allen key to the set screw of the belt tension. This is the same as in the 700. The only difference is the 700 do not have this access hole, so you have to do it slightly from the side, but it also works fine. Anyway, take your Allen key, I think it's a 2.5, enter the set screw here, and if you look at it from the top, let me try to make this more clear in the camera. Okay, like this, I think. I'm adding around 2 to 3 turns, full turns. So 1, 2, 3, and now you can nicely see here down that the spring has come out and preloading the belt. So also now here you can see it's nicely doing its job. That's how you set up the belt tensioner. Basically there is no further adjustment needed in the future. Maybe once a while you just inspect if anything stays in place, like regular maintenance and regular inspection. But that's how the belt tensioner work and how the setup basically work. Important is don't keep the belt loose and then just adding tension to the set screw. Preload it first by pulling back the boom, adding a nice amount of tension, of load to the belt, and then set up the spring, preload the spring by roughly 3 turns. Don't keep it loose and just apply turns and turns and turns, because that's not the proper way how to set up this belt tensioner. I hope this video is helpful and you enjoy. See you soon.